Hi everyone, and welcome back to the new mindscape. In the previous video, I talked about the notion of faith-based NGOs and how they are influenced by their spirituality. In this video, I'm going to give some examples of the groups that I studied in Hong Kong. So, the first group was a Buddhist group founded by a Buddhist nun in Hong Kong who started a social enterprise primarily for middle-aged women. Some middle-aged women may encounter problems in their marriage or their job. They feel worthless and become depressed. So this organization tries to empower them through rebuilding their self-confidence and their sense of purpose and value in life. It has a vegetarian restaurant similar to the Bijas vegetarian restaurant on Hong Kong U campus, which is actually owned by another Buddhist social enterprise. So maybe these middle-aged women are unemployed and have limited social skills, but through working in the vegetarian restaurant, they gradually gain self-confidence, friendships, interpersonal communication skills, and they can finally return to society. We find that this group is doing something interesting and new because it's rare that Buddhist organizations would start social enterprises. Another interesting thing about this group is that it not only provides working opportunities for these women, but it also opens a camp for them to learn about spirituality. So through the Buddhist teachings, they learn about their Buddha nature, they learn about the value of life, how to deal with suffering in life, and so on. So that's how they gain a sense of purpose in life, of confidence, of skills to handle quarrels with their families, and so on. Through spiritual training, they gain another kind of value. In this sense, this group is doing something rather different from what most organizations and even social enterprises do. Another group that I visited is a group of concern for the homeless people. But unlike other organizations with the same objective, this Christian group doesn't simply give food or shelter to homeless people. It treats homeless people as human beings with as much value as anybody else. So when the homeless people come to the shelter, they also learn how to become the leaders of different activities. They learn that just like all human beings, they were created in the image of God and that God loves them even though they have nothing. In the eyes of God, they're just as valuable as anybody else. And so the homeless gain a sense of value and confidence, as well as the skills to organize activities. We can see again that this organization is providing not only material help by giving food and shelter, but also spiritual help, or even spiritual capital, so that the homeless people are empowered after becoming involved in this organization. A third group that I studied is a group for mothers, for teenage mothers, and this group also has a Christian background. It's a group that works with pregnant teenage girls. When a teenage girl becomes pregnant, she will have a huge crisis in her life. She might be stigmatized by people around her or rejected by her family. And so she doesn't know what to do. Should she have an abortion or should she keep the baby? If she decides to keep the baby, how can she raise the baby? Should she put the baby up for adoption? So all of these questions will arise if a teenage girl gets pregnant. This organization gives moral support for these pregnant mothers, as well as the first home for the babies of these mothers, if they decide not to keep the babies. So I found a lot of babies in this organization. It's almost like an orphanage, but it wasn't like a conventional orphanage that I had once visited. At that orphanage, I'd seen a lot of babies lying in their beds, and it was quite a depressing scene. There was nothing but children and babies in their beds, and nurses feeding them almost like machines. It wasn't a happy place. But in this group, it was a very joyful place. There was a real family feeling. The orphans were happy, and the nurses and volunteers were playing and taking care of them with much love and joy. So the typical institution sees a child as primarily a material being. So the most important thing is to make sure that the child has enough food, has a bed, and is physically healthy. But there's no time to give love to the child. But in this organization, they figured that they should also give love to the babies and to the teenage mothers, no matter if the mothers are on drugs or have many problems. And so it's just like the homeless people. These teenage mothers have nothing. And yet this organization considers that they have spiritual value. They're human beings, and they have infinite value just like anybody else. This group gives them love and creates this happy family atmosphere among the orphans and the teenage mothers. Another group that I studied is called the Fullness Christian Social Enterprise. This organization helps ex-prisoners to reintegrate into society after their release. The ex-prisoners, because of their criminal record, have a hard time finding their place in society. They encounter a lot of prejudice and obstacles which might lead them to commit more crimes and return to prison. This organization, again, treats ex-prisoners as persons with infinite value. It creates a loving family atmosphere in the hair salon, which is their social enterprise, and the automobile repair shop where the prisoners can also work. So here the ex-prisoner gets a sense of his value, regardless of the mistakes that he's committed in his past, his weaknesses and the faults that he has. Instead, he's treated as an infinitely valuable person. This value is respected and nurtured so that it can flow, it can grow and flourish. And finally, one of the groups that I looked at was the Junior Youth Empowerment Program of the Baha'i community. So this is a program for junior youth between 11 and 15 years old, and this period of life is considered to be the most difficult and rebellious period of adolescence. It's an age that's often considered to be immature and rebellious. But in the Junior Youth Empowerment Program, the attitude is just the opposite. That age is a very special time. One reason that the youth are very rebellious is that they have a strong sense of justice. They can see what's going on in their world and even what's going wrong in the world and even in their own family. They don't like it and they want to fight against it. So actually this rebellion may actually be something very positive. How can that value, that desire to reject the bad things of the world and to change the world, be recognized and nurtured and channeled in a positive and constructive way? So with this question in mind, this program helps the junior youth to form their own groups in which they study about spiritual values and how to put them in practice in a positive way, in which they consult together to start up small service projects. In these groups, the youth's desire to change the world can be channeled positively, and they can gain leadership skills and have a positive influence on the people around them and on society. So in all of these examples, we can see groups of people who are generally considered to have, that they don't have much value in society. They certainly don't have financial capital, whether they're middle-aged women, pregnant teenage mothers, orphans, homeless, ex-prisoners, or junior youth. But they don't have social capital either. Social capital in sociology means social networks. Social connections are very important in a person's life because they can help you move ahead in your career, make money, and so on. But these people don't have social capital. In fact, they're looked down upon in society. And they don't have cultural capital. Their level of cultural knowledge and sophistication is quite low. And they don't have symbolic capital. That means that they don't have face or prestige. They're even stigmatized and discriminated against in society. But the faith-based organizations that I studied consider that these groups are actually rich. They're rich spiritually, inside themselves, in their soul, in their spirit. They have infinite value, the value that God has given them, or the value of being an integral part of the flow of the universe. They have spiritual capital. So these organizations treat these types of people with a genuine sense of dignity and seek to nurture their high potential. They believe that these people can contribute to society as much as anybody else. This is the foundation of the notion of spiritual capital.